A Day with Caleb, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it is storming out there, raining quite a bit, windy, which is actually pretty fitting for today's movie review. That is right, we are going to cover Twister, which there's no twisters out there, but it is coming down. Let me see if I can capture this. That is crazy. That is crazy. So if you hear some rain in the background, you will know why. And actually, when we were very young in Tifton, in a little place called Eureka, Georgia, about 30 minutes or so from Tifton, if you're familiar with Tifton, Georgia, we had a twister come right over our house, and we were next to us this way was a cow barn, and this way was kind of like forest trees. Directly in front of us was this big pond where they did fish and stuff, and there were turtles and stuff like that. Behind us was another cow field and hay bales. Anyway, the twister went to the right of our house, almost over our house, into the woods, and then it kind of dissipated in the lake. So it really didn't do a lot of damage, but that scared us as kids. We went to the bathroom, played games you play when the power's about to go out and stuff. But anyway, that is very fitting because in the movie Twister, this young girl loses her father because of a F5 tornado or twister, and that ultimately is the driving force for her being a researcher and a storm chaser. That's her career, that's her ambition, her drive, that is what she wants to do. She doesn't want people to go through what her and her family went through. She wants to understand the tornadoes and get more of an accurate read so these tornado warnings can actually warn people and they can evade the kind of destruction of the tornado. Because in the film, I think it says the warning is 2 minutes from when it hits, maybe less, maybe more. And she wanted to up that to 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So her and Bill Paxton team up. They're in the lab. They chase tornadoes. They have kind of a split of breaking apart. And Joe is her character. So he goes off, becomes a weatherman, and he is dating his new girlfriend, but he comes back to sign divorce papers for him and Joe, so he can start off on his new life. She has this whole team around her chasing these tornadoes, and I feel like we're right in the eye of a storm right now. It's actually pretty fitting that we're doing this now because we have the ambiance, production value, remember in Super 8. Anyway, where was I going? So he comes back to sign these papers. She tells him that they got Dorothy up and running, and Dorothy is It's basically this big, like, soda can tub. If you remember, Pepsi and Coke used to have these, like, big plastic tubes where they would put cans of soda and they would chill in there, kind of like a cooler. But she filled these Dorothy containers with these little round, like, balls, sensor balls. And the theory was this Dorothy container would get sucked into the tornado and would release all these sensors, and you would have thousands of sensors studying inside the eye of the tornado and ultimately studying how the tornado is formed, and in theory would allow for more warning and actually study like no one had ever done before. So they have two, Dorothy 1, Dorothy 2, and then so he gets like sucked in to help her launch Dorothy because they worked on it together. So the new girlfriend kind of tags along in the new truck, and she makes reference, you got a new truck, a new job, a new girlfriend. So, and let's talk a little bit about Philip Seymour Hoffman. Bill Paxton and, of course, Philip both passed away. Both times I actually watched Twister out of respect to them, but he is funny in it, and Dusty, he calls Bill Paxton's character the Extreme because he is the Extreme. He's kind of like a human radar. He can sense when storms are happening. I wish I could sense this one. It's actually quite fitting that there's storm around us as we're reviewing Twister. Couldn't think of a better way. Speaking of Twister, Universal had an attraction, Twister Ride It Out, where Bill Paxton and Joe kind of did their lines. It is said that they were not cordial on set, but they did come back to film those scenes, and they were working on a sequel before Bill Paxton passed. But the attraction Twister Ride It Out scared me to death. It's basically these two platforms. One was like the scene where the movie theater and all like crashes in. They kind of recreate that. So there's a lower level, upper level, real lightning. Like I watched a video on how they like thought of this stuff, and it still blows my mind. And like a power transformer blows over, all this carnage. A little cow, Judy, we got cows. Kind of blows around, and the wind that they created in that attraction, it's when lightning struck, like that legit scared me. Like I don't scare easily with rides unless maybe it involves a clown or darkness, but that, like I enjoyed riding or experiencing it. It's not really a ride, it's more of an experience. But experiencing that attraction, I was sad when it did close, because it was around the time Bill passed away, maybe a little before. But I remember looking that people went and dressed as Bill Paxton and Joe on the last day in honor of that great attraction that I still miss to this day. I wish they would come back and create some of their iconic attractions like that, and T2, Back to the Future, Confrontation, so great. Anyway, so there was an attraction kind of that theme park time when we talked about The Mummy and Mummy Returns. There was a ride at Universal. But anyway, he goes along to kind of launch Dorothy. Along the way, they meet Carrie Ells of Princess Bride fame, who kind of copies their idea, and he's going to launch his kind of sensor thing into the Twister, and he has like sponsors, he has like a TV deal, he has all this money, all this backing, but he doesn't have the instinct of the extreme, which Dusty points out. So they kind of battle and chase all these storms. Eventually, the Carrie Ells team, they get sucked into a F5, which is unfortunate. They tried to warn them. That is some good timing right there. But then Bill and Joe kind of almost get sucked up Twister themselves. They tie off to this like bridge type deal, this like water drain thing. So they lose the first Dorothy, and so they have one more shot with Dorothy 2. But while they're at that cinema, that great scene where it kind of flies by and cuts him in the head, they realize after that her aunt, Joe's aunt, is in trouble. The Twister goes through her town, so they go there. She survives. The house, unfortunately, does not. The dog survives, which is always great as a dog lover. But they figure out that they need these little things to like help it fly in the Twister because it was just dropping before. So they do that, finally track down the biggest Twister they've seen, go through a house, that's a fun scene, and ultimately launch the truck, and Dorothy 2, it works, everybody's cheering, but then they realize the Twister's coming back for them. They go into this like meat like butcher shop with all these knives and stuff. They're like, we're out of here. They tie down to these pipes that are like way below ground, good solid foundation. They're in the eye of the Twister, and ultimately, well, his girlfriend leaves him at the cinema because of it's too crazy, she can't handle it, so they break up. Bill Paxton and Joe, after that success, team back up together, and that's how it ends, a happy ending. She got her main mission, her goal, and they come back together. Great casting, great movie by John Bodeau. I cannot say his name. He did Speed and something else. Anyway, like, subscribe, share with a movie lover. If you have not seen the classic Twister, go and check it out. Hope you're liking these movie reviews. Until next time, keep collecting.